What's going on, gang? Welcome back to another episode of Highrollers, Roads and Rails. And today we're following again with my personal build series. I'm here to introduce to y'all, not necessarily mine, it's my grandmother's 1977 Corvette, nicknamed the HOTBOX. Alright, so here we are to talk about the Corvette. This car has been in our stable for longer than any other ones combined. My grandmother, Brenda Hart, bought this car brand new in 1977. And as you can see, it's been through a ton of modifications over the years. Okay, so what exactly are we looking at here? This is a 1977 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray. It is considered from the C3 generation. It is powered by a 350 cubic inch Chevrolet small block. Made it to a turbo 350 transmission. And running back off of that transmission, it does have something very unique to the Corvette. So let's take a look at that right now. So as you can see, this car featured a monoleaf rear suspension and a drive shaft rear end. The 77 Corvette was equipped with factory front disc brakes and also rear disc brakes. Something that is very unique about all Corvettes in general, but nonetheless on this 1977, is it features an all fiberglass body. That's right. Every panel on this car is completely fiberglass. However, it does have a steel frame. The fiberglass construction of the Corvette allowed it to come in at a curb weight of just at 3,648 pounds, which for 1977 was a fairly light car. I'm not going to get too far in the weeds as far as factory specs on this car, because as you can tell already, there is not much factory left to this car. It has been heavily modified over the years, and all by my grandmother. So let's talk a little bit about the history of this car. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, it was bought brand new in 1977 by my grandma. She bought this as her dream car. This is what she wanted, was a Corvette. It always has been. She'd had plenty of other cars before. She'd had some Chevelles. She'd had a 68 Camaro, but she'd always wanted the Corvette. She loved the long, sleek body lines of the Vette. So she bought one new in 77. This car, when bought new, was actually silver, believe it or not. She bought it, drove it for a little bit, but she knew that eventually she wanted to make this a full-blown show car. So a couple years after she purchased it, she decided to start changing some things on it. Some of these additions included some wheels and tires, a whole lot of dress up underneath the hood, the side pipes that you see here, and it was painted. However, the paint job that you see here is not the first rendition of it. Its first rendition was a much brighter red with white accent stripes on it, and she kept it that way for right many years. However, after many years of showing the car, she decided she wanted to change it up, which led to this incredible paint job here. So let's take a quick second to talk about the paint. The paint color is candy apple red. However, this is 7 coats. Yes, I say again, 7 coats of candy apple red. Followed up with something that's not very popular anymore, but this is a lacquer finish. So it has 32 coats of lacquer on top of that. So there is a ton of paint on this car. Now, of course, things have changed since back in the day, but if you wanted that deep shine and multiple layers of paints, that's how you had to get it. Now, as you can see in this shot here really good, you can see the multiple different layers of paint on it. And you can see some of the custom pinstriping that was done at the time that's laid into the paint. Yeah, that's not decals, ladies and gentlemen. That is 100% paint. Now, because it is kind of a dusk evening right now and the sun's not shining too bright, these stripes absolutely pop. However, when it's brighter outside, as I'll drop in a picture here, the stripes are less noticeable. And you can actually see it on the fender here. There are stripes there, but they don't pop quite as good as in the shade. So it doesn't matter how you look at this car, you start to see every layer of the paint on this thing. Now, mind you guys, looking at this paint right now, you wouldn't believe it that this paint job is over 25 years old. My grandmother has babied this car it's really its whole life. It's always been underneath a cover. And it's set for many, many years, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But as you can see, the paint, we're not going to call it flawless. It's starting to show its age. But it looks incredible. And one thing about that lacquer finish, man, the more you polish on it, the better it comes out. It seems like even if it starts to scratch, you know, little swirl marks and stuff like that, man, with a good bit of hard work, it always comes right back out. The paint is one of the things that just truly makes this car unique. While we're talking about the body of the car, let's talk about some major upgrades that she made at the same time when it had this custom paint put on. So, we'll start down here at the bottom. As you can see, it's kind of had a chin spoiler, I guess you could call it, that is molded in. So all that has been fiberglassed in for a seamless finish. That was all added on. We come up here to the headlights. Now, the 77 Corvette was equipped with flip-up headlights. However, you can see that this car, she has decided to remove that and instead go for a recessed 4-headlight look in the front. Moving farther up, as you can see, this is a big block L88. Now, Corvette guys, don't beat me up. I'm probably wrong on that. But I believe this is the L88 big block cowl induction hood. Now, this is a factory T-top car. So that's always a lot of fun to pop the tops off and kick this thing with the tops out of it. We'll go ahead and move on back. These are all factory body lines here, but when we come back here, you can see that it has had a ducktail spoiler added. And again, all of that has been glassed into the car for a seamless finish. Also, most 77 Corvettes did have a luggage rack right here, and she opted to remove the luggage rack for obviously a much cleaner look. This car does have a set of hooker side pipe headers coming into the side pipes here. Now, these do have baffles in them, so it's definitely loud, but it's not unbearable. The car has a great sound. So before I get too far into the weeds on the rest of the modifications, let's continue on with the history. So she went ahead and changed the color, had this beautiful candy apple red paint job put on. And then she started hitting the shows hard. Now, car shows today are not what car shows used to be in the 80s and 90s when she was showing this car. At the time, it was more really of a competition. Today, you know, it is what it is. It's a lot of politics and a lot of people just parking in the parking lot and trying to get some dinky plastic trophies. But that was not the case in the 70s, 80s, and 90s with car shows. So all the shows that she did were indoors in like coliseums, stadiums, show halls, you name it. This car has been all up and down the East Coast. My grandma traveled with this car and showed it hard. Shown in the ISCA circuit, which stands for International Show Car Association. After traveling all up and down the East Coast, my grandma had finally gotten to this car where it was the #2 show car in the United States as far as the ISCA goes. They did off a point system, and this car was #2 in points, so she had it as one of the really top dogs back in the day. I'm going to drop a picture right here of how the car would have looked at an indoor show in the mid-80s. So I wanted to bring you guys inside real quick just to show you this picture that we have on the wall. But this is how the car would have looked in the mid-80s when it was showing it hard. I mean, full display, mirrors underneath. You can see at the time that she had these spoke wire wheels on it, but you can see the car pretty much looked almost the same as it does now. However, as you can see there is a bit of a little blower hanging out the top of the hood of this thing, and we'll talk a little bit more about the engine stuff here in just a moment, but that was her back in the day, and that was how they did it. This car also had many other accolades for the time, as it was also featured on a full-page spread in Hot Rod magazine, which really was the top-of-the-line car magazine back in that time. So the car's won multiple awards, every top Corvette award that you can think of, many best in shows. This car's show career is pretty unbelievable. Now, after a very successful show career, finally in the early 90s, my Nanny had decided that it was time to park it. She was going to take a break from car shows for a while. Now, unfortunately, that's kind of where this car gets to a pretty sad state. So this car sat, after she parked it in the early 90s, pretty much from about, I want to say it was 91, 92, just before I was born in 94. It sat in her garage over in her house, and over the years, things started to move around it, dust started to collect on it, and she really just lost an interest in the car. My grandma's also been a very hard worker most of her life, and she's been working at a factory since 1975, I believe. And the hours of work were adding up, and her time to mess with the car was just decreasing, so it sat. This car sat from the early 90s until, after a lot of persuasion from myself, in 2018, she finally decided that we were going to pull the car out. Now, she had to get a whole lot of nudging from me, I should be pretty honest. She was pretty determined that the car wasn't hurting anything where it's sitting. But finally, I just told her that the car was in such sad state and it just didn't deserve it. So one day, while she was sleeping, because she's been working graveyards, I decided to, I don't know what, just push the car out of the garage and give it a good bath. Well, I sent her pictures of what I'd done. After getting a pretty good stern talking to about touching her car, she did finally agree with me that we needed to do something. So with the help of family and friends and myself, we were able to get the car back running. So we took it over to my buddy's garage, and the car had been sitting for so long we weren't sure if the engine was even going to rotate. Well, we figured out the engine was free, but the carburetor was full of rat's nest, and man, it was just a total mess. It looked pretty sad state from what it was when she was showing it. But we got it cleaned up. We got it fired up. The engine finally rolled over again after tinkering with it, and it actually ran pretty well. So we were pretty ecstatic that we were going to be able to keep the original engine in it. After changing out some gaskets, changing out some fluids, and really just getting it up to modern spec, greasing ball joints, really minor stuff, we finally got the car back on the road. And as you can see, it looks fantastic, and I'm so glad we did. So now that we've gone over the history of the car, let's continue talking about the things that changed. So, as I just told you guys, in the 2018 restoration of this car, we decided that maybe the wire wheels that you saw in that one image of it were a little dated. So I wanted to bring it up to a more modern spec. They were 15-inch wire wheels and Dayton wire wheels, and they were cool at the time, but to me they just weren't very cool now. So I decided that I wanted to keep the 70s vibe of this car, because it really does have an incredible 70s look. So we went with these American Racing torque thrust wheels. Now these are the forged aluminum single piece wheels. And we've decided to do a 18-inch setup all the way around. So you've got an 18 by 7 in the front, and then a big dog wide offset 18 by 10 in the rear. Now I'm not sure the exact offset numbers, but it's very wide, as you can see here. For tires, we wrapped it in some Toyo Proxy T1s. There are 295/35 in the rear. And a 285/45 in the front. We also decided to throw some 20% tint on the windows. But beyond that, let's go check out the inside of this thing. I bet you weren't expecting this. Yes, indeed. This car continues that 70s vibe, 70s show car vibe. It is crushed velour red velvet. Yep, 100% velvet seats all the way through it. Piped in white. Down to the door cards, the center console, the dash, all the way around. It does retain the factory steering wheel, the factory gauges, factory center console, but everything else has been changed as far as the interior goes. Now behind the seats, as you can see, the Corvettes don't have a back seat, but this is your battery box and a storage compartment there. But you see, she's got some old school audio. It's got some Sony 6x9s. An old equalizer. I mean, this stereo stuff is old school. Now, this stuff doesn't work anymore. But that is part of our plans, is try to get some more up-to-date sound system in it. But at the time, this stuff was old school cool here. All the way down to the blanc punt tape receiver, I guess you could call it, in the front. So definitely a 70s vibe. Now, when we decided to redo the car in 2018, it was brought up to change the interior, because obviously this is not everybody's cup of tea. But after a lot of deliberation, we decided we were going to continue and keep the red velvet interior, kind of to pay homage to this car's show history. And not only that, to keep the 70s vibe of this car. It just really has that 70s look. You know, the red velvet thing was definitely in back then. And we're trying to make it cool today. So we opted to keep the interior. It may change down the line. Go ahead and drop a comment of what you guys think about this red velvet interior. But definitely something you've probably never seen and probably won't see much of. All right, now that you guys have seen the interior, let's come underneath the hood. So again, like I said in the opener, this is a 350 cubic inch small block Chevrolet. And as you can see, it is pretty kitted out. We have got all kinds of chrome and polished aluminum tidbits on it to really bring it out. So pretty awesome looking. Nice Chevrolet valve covers, Chevrolet air breather. Now under that, we do have a quick fuel double pump 750 carburetor. And that has made it up to a Edelbrock air gap intake. Now this car does have a small camshaft in it, nothing too aggressive. As far as horsepower, you know, who knows? I mean, this thing's probably like 200 horsepower on a good day. But this car is all about the show and not much about the go. Now, what I wanted to point out to you guys in the earlier picture, you heard me mention about the blower. So yes, when she showed this car back in the day, it did have a small YN blower on it that was plated in 24 karat gold. Absolutely. Talk about funky stuff. The gold plating on the English induction systems and the blower, it actually, you really couldn't even start this car. It would run for just a few minutes, but you couldn't let the engine get hot because the gold plating would want to start to melt off of it. So pretty funky stuff. So it wasn't a very practical setup with the blower. And she kept it through its show career, but right before she parked it in the 90s, she had an idea that she wanted to drive it more. So she decided to go ahead and throw a carburetor on it and take the blower off and make it a little more practical to drive. So moving on, like I said, you see the nice accessory drive on the front. Got a really nice 3-core Champion radiator in this thing. Hard to see, but Champion cooling systems. Pretty nice radiator. Coming down to the suspension, you can see that these are the factory control arms, but you know, back in the day when she was showing it, all of this was plated to a chrome finish with the black center. It's really sharp looking. A lot of chrome tibbets underneath. Now, speaking of underneath, I can't really show you guys today, but this paint job doesn't just stop here. You guys saw the mirror in the pictures. It did have mirrors underneath of it, it shows, and the underneath of this car is literally painted just like the top, down to the pinstriping underneath. So pretty incredible. Now today it doesn't look as good as it did in the 80s, but it was done and it was a pretty nice touch. So for an ignition, we have a nice HEI distributor here. Like I said, this is a pretty mild setup. There's nothing crazy in here. Now we have talked about making changes here as well. There's been talks to do big block with a blower out the hood and do a Pro Street look. There's also been talks to throw a LS in this thing, so all that could change in the future. It just depends on really what she wants to do. She's finally about to retire after almost 50 years of service at the cigarette plant. So I think her retirement gift to herself is either going to be to do something really tricky to the engine in this, or maybe pick up another surprise you guys don't know about yet. But either way, go ahead and drop a comment what you guys think. You know, should we just keep rocking the little small block Chevrolet, or should we go LS, or do something wicked big block blower out the hood situation? So let me know what you guys think. So moving on, you see the chrome latches here. I mean, there's just chrome everywhere. You can see that, like Trace Atkins said, her favorite color was chrome. You see the paint job with the stripes carries on to underneath the hood. Really looks fantastic. You know, the Corvettes have the front opening hoods. So that's about it. I think I've covered most of the upgrades that's done to this car. It's a long list, but this is a 100% true show car. Now, fortunately, ever since we've done the restoration, it's probably been driven more by myself than it ever had in its entire lifetime. You can see by the fact that it only has 26,025 miles on it. And believe it or not, the car's a fairly good driver. You know, with these great Toyo tires that we have on it, the suspension's all been addressed and kind of modernized a little bit. You know, fresh ball joints, fresh grease and everything. The car drives pretty good. So speaking of a drive, you guys know what time it is. Let's fire this old beast up and listen to how it sounds. Alright, so we'll do a quick walk around of this thing running. You can hear those old side pipes talking now. You can hear the little bit of cam in it. Like I said, nothing too aggressive. Old 350 runs like a top. So, with that, let's go ahead and hop in and let's take a cruise before we lose daylight, because it's getting dark, but let's take a ride. All right. So here we are in the cabin of the old Vette. Now, for the purposes of this video not being complete wind noise, I'm not going to pop the T-tops today, but maybe in a future video I will do that. But so let's go ahead and get some air rolling in here, because this car did have AC, but it was deleted. I don't know why. Probably need to put that back on, but anyway. So let's go ahead and take a ride. So quick look over the gauge cluster. You can see I got the water temp, fuel. That's actually a clock. 40 pounds of oil pressure, so we're doing good there. Got good voltage. Come on down to the shifter. Look at that beautiful sky, y'all. Beautiful thing about living out here in God's country. Not gonna beat on it too hard because we're just getting it warmed up. But it's fairly loud under acceleration, but you know, once you're cruising, it kind of tames off. But the sound pipes are definitely loud, but especially because it comes out right beside the driver's door. But I love it, man. This car is an absolute blast to drive. Windows down on a beautiful, you know, 70-degree evening like we got here in Virginia. It doesn't get any better than this. That old small block's got a nice deep throaty sound. So you see 60 miles an hour, no shakes. I mean, the car drives really good. I can see why these cars were so desirable in their time, because I mean, they are sporty little cars, and this thing is kind of fun to take down a little country back road. I mean, it doesn't compare to today's cars, but at the time, man, this was a hot rod. I mean, this thing was kind of the peak of Chevrolet's performance during a time where cars were just kind of not very exciting. You know, the 70s were just a really bad time for cars. But Chevrolet really had these vets, you know, top of the tier, top of the line, and it was a very desirable car in the late 70s. Now, while we're cruising, I will talk about the kind of driving characteristics of it. Like I said, it drives good. Now, one thing I will knock the Corvettes for, the C3s, man, the visibility is less than ideal. So, this car doesn't have a rearview mirror. They came with them, but, you know, she thought it looked better without it for whatever reason. So, you can't really see behind you unless you take a look. And the little mirrors, I mean, you can't really see much, but you just kind of got to be a little more cautious when driving it. But all in all, like I said, the driving experience is like no other, especially when you can pop the T-tops out but on a beautiful evening like this. And while we're talking about it, I just want to say how thankful I am that, you know, through all the years, even though this car sat for a long, long time, almost 20 years, that, you know, my nanny kept it. I call my grandma my nanny, but that she kept it in such good condition, and that I'm able to drive it now. I can remember being a young child, and I would sneak into the garage sometimes and just go sit in this car. You had to move stuff just to get into the door of it, but I'd sneak in here and just sit like any child does and make car noises and pretend to drive it. And, you know, I kind of thought it was just doomed. It was always going to sit there, but you know, finally the opportunity came out where we were able to work together and get this thing back on the road, and I'm so glad for it. I mean, I relish every time I drive this car because it's really carrying a piece of her legacy on. The legacy of what the car was, the HOTBOX, you know. Everybody in my local area, if they're an old head, they can tell you they knew what the HOTBOX Corvette was. They knew all about it, so it's just so real driving it sometimes. It really is. Alright, so let's hear how it sounds on a little downshift. So we'll pull it down a second. This thing sounds really good when you downshift it. Man, nobody's on the road this evening. That made out pretty good. Alright, let's feel all 200 horsepower of this thing. Because of the weight of this car, and if you manually shift this thing, it's peppy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to call it fast, but it's peppy. You know, we got it up to about an undisclosed speed right there because, you know, because the police is always watching, but pretty fun. we take a minute just to appreciate what God is doing for us, y'all. I mean, appreciate this beautiful sky, this beautiful evening. Drop a gear real quick. Make a little pull. So one thing you got to be mindful of after a drive is, man, you got to watch your leg on that pipe. I can tell you right now, as my mother can attest, many a leg have been burned on that side pipe right there. But check it out, y'all. We've pulled into a friend of mine's spot right here in Sutherland, Virginia. This is Alger's store. This building has been here since 1908 and still stands today. Alger's store was a general merchandise gas station, little store that has stood the test of time. You know, the building is old but still standing, so pretty cool place. Some really nice signage, some old pumps. But so here we are. Here's the vet. So what an awesome car, man. I hope you guys enjoyed riding along with me and checking this car out and talking a little bit about it. It's been one that I've been excited to bring to the channel. It was long overdue for a video. Sometimes it's just really hard to find the time to knock these things out, but glad I did this one today. All right, and here I am right here with the myth and the legend right here, Brenda Hart. This is my grandma. I call her Nanny. But you guys just saw her Corvette, so I figured I'd come over here and you get the story straight from the horse's mouth. So I told him that you bought the car new in '77. So
that is correct. Yes, I did.
Give him a little rundown on it.
Well, I wanted one, and as soon as I went to work at Philip Morris, I said that's the first thing I was going to do. I was going to buy me a Corvette. I found this one in Richmond. It was silver, with silver and leather interior. And I said that was the one. So I bought it. I think I paid like $7,200 for the car when I bought it.
$7,200.
$7,200.
Yeah.
Of course, I was back in '77.
Yeah.
But
I bet somebody give you $7,200 for it right now.
I kind of doubt that. They might buy the wheels and tires for $7,200. I don't know. But yeah, it's been a good car. It was my dream, and I just still it. And the first thing I did was, of course, change the rim and tires. She had to have some bling, and them rally sports just didn't get it, not for me. Yeah. And I took it to a car show, and 2 weeks, I was hooked. I won first place, and it was on in, baby. Every week, I was taking my check, buying me something, taking this off, replacing this, taking this off, replacing this. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a life adventure for me, and I did most of the work myself, except for the paint and the interior. Everything else I did. And I once had a blow on it with gold-plated Holley carburetors. So, but, it all progressed real good. But I enjoyed the car. It was good. It's been good to me. It placed 10th in the country when I was showing with our RRMA. So it really did well. It showed well. Got a lot of compliments.
Excuse me. So I said 2. It was 10. But that's still pretty high up.
Yeah. It was 10.
What
10th
year
in the country.
Do you remember what year that was?
That was in 1981.
1981.
Yes.
So like you guys said, look, it was a '77 car, and in '81 it was number 10 in the country. So
yes.
I'd say it progressed pretty quick.
Yeah, I was traveling a lot. I was pulling it up and down the road. I'd get in just enough time to go to work on Sunday night and have to leave on Thursday night to go and set up. But it was fun. I met a lot of great people, a lot of great cars. And I just felt like this was for me. This is what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. I loved it.
So why'd you park it?
Well,
why'd you park it?
It's like everything else. It gets old, you know. And I had so many trophies, so many ribbons, and they're no good to nobody but me And the car did exactly what I wanted to do. There was nothing else I could accomplish without changing the whole car. And I wasn't going to do that.
Yep.
I wanted the low profile. I wanted the 1941 pinstriping on the top as well as underneath. I wanted the crushed velour interior, you know, and I just couldn't see tearing all that apart to replace it with something else. So this is what I wanted, and I'm going to keep it like that until I'm gone, and then Dylan can do with it as he wishes.
No, that's one car that doesn't have a price. It won't leave. We've talked about selling it, but it ain't going nowhere. It's just like her. She ain't going nowhere either.
It's a family momentum, and you know, it was my life. Yep. You know, and the kids know how I was with it, and you know, wherever there was a show around, I was there. You know,
that's no doubt.
I had a lot of haters. Don't think I didn't.
You still got haters.
Still got haters, but that's okay too. But you know, it was fun, and like I say, I've met a lot of great people, a lot of good showman people out there. You know, it was a good thing for me to do.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it.
Well, good. Well, thank you for giving us a little bit of insight on your baby, and I hope you don't mind. I just did a big flaming burnout on it.
Oh no.
No, I know better than that. I know better than that. But
thank you, son. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, love.
All right.
All right, y'all.
Bye.
All right, gang. With that, I'm going to end this one off. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hope you enjoyed riding along with me and checking out my grandma's vet. So more to come on this car. Like I said, hopefully some changes down the road. But if not, we're going to take it out to some shows and enjoy it, and just enjoy it for what it is and the history it brings and what it's done. What a cool piece of history, you know, local history for us to still be rolling down the road. So with that, I just ask that you guys like, comment, subscribe, stick with us on the channel. I know I've been slacking on making some car stuff, but I'm back on the grind. I'm back at it with the cars. The weather's just always fighting me. So it's just trying to work around the rain. It's been a really wet summer here in Virginia. But anyway, I've enjoyed it with y'all. I'm trying to get on a more regular upload schedule. I'm going to try to make sure I get uploads on Tuesdays for sure. So make sure you stick with us on Tuesdays, as we got multiple videos coming up soon. Some more train content, some more automotive content. So keep it right here. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you click that bell icon so that you can stay up to date on everything that I got going on. And with that, y'all, we'll see y'all down the line. Real quick, gang, I want to throw this in right here at the end of this video, but I did make some upgrades to my camera equipment, so I hope you guys noticed the quality in this video here. But I did make a pretty big investment with a new phone, going to the Samsung S24 Ultra. So always upgrading, always trying to do the next best thing for the channel. So let me know, you guys. Let me know if you made it to this point all the way to the end. You're one of my OG subscribers. So did the camera look better? You guys happy? You guys like the sound quality? So let me know. But see you guys on the next one. Peace.